It's me, Vicki Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. Now, I've started a little bit earlier than I was originally planned because for once I was actually ready early. So, oh my gosh, I've done so much this morning already. Anyway, for those of you who don't know, I'm Vicki Marie. I talk about true crime all over the world, really, but especially concentrated in Great Britain, in Spain, Europe, in Australia, and in America. Thank you for watching. And what we're going to talk about in this video, just to let you know, in case you don't know, I'm based in mainland Spain. And but I was born in Manchester, funnily enough. So I lived in Manchester. I've lived in Reading as well in the UK, and now, lucky for me, I now live in Spain, and I talk about true crime or anything that I think my chatters will find interesting. So what we're going to talk about in this video, though, is we are going to concentrate on some British stories, British cases. We're going to talk about 3 different things in this video. One of the things we're going to talk about is this man. And of course, this man is Paul, is it Doyle, I think his surname. So this is the man who's been charged with various things and is appearing in court this morning as he is allegedly the man who was driving the car that ploughed into all those Liverpool fans who were celebrating Liverpool winning the Premier League. This is the guy. He's appearing in court this morning. Now, I'm keeping an eye. I've got a few windows open of live streams. I mean, we can't watch the court proceedings because they're not being televised, but there's media there, obviously. And I've got my eye on a few different outlets, if you like, that are updating us. He has apparently arrived at court there in Liverpool. And of course, a lot of other people have turned up at court. So, there were 79 people injured. So if you think about not only the people that were injured, that are their families, friends, it's going to be chaos at that court, isn't it? Anyway, apparently proceedings have been delayed a little bit. He has arrived. The media's there. There's been special arrangements made to fit everybody in who wants to be there at court. So maybe that's what the delay's about. But anyway, so we're going to talk about that at the end when I'm keeping an eye on it. Any information that I get coming through, if I think, it's important to talk about it now, I will. But by the end of this video, that's the 3rd thing we'll look at, if you like. So another thing we're going to look at in this video is, now, regular chatters on my channel will remember we covered this case, very sad case of Anita Rose, who took her dog Bruce out for a walk. I think it was in Cambridgeshire, just like she did on a regular basis, just like should be able to do safely. But Anita, unfortunately, was attacked and left for dead, really. But she wasn't dead when she was first found by other dog walkers. But she did, unfortunately, die in hospital. And, it's the trial going on at the moment of Anita's alleged attacker, alleged killer, which is this man. Do you know what? I don't even know what his name is at the moment, but I will when we go through the news articles. I don't think his name's important, but it's important in the fact that he's the one who took away Anita's life. Now, you may remember this case because of the pink jacket. So this was the last CCTV footage of Anita taking her dog Bruce for a walk for the last time. And this pink jacket was very crucial because it couldn't be found. When Anita was found, the jacket was not found. And I think this is one of the things that has pinned down this killer, because he kept the jacket as a trophy, apparently. That's why the jacket couldn't be found, or this is what they're saying in the trial. So we're going to be looking at that. But first of all, we're just going to be looking at this woman, Rose West, most people will know Rose West as part of that unholy alliance, her and her husband Fred, who killed so many people, including their own children, at 25 Cromwell Street. It's like one of those addresses that is engraved on people's memories. And she is serving a life sentence, whereas her husband Fred, he took the coward's way out. He deleted himself in prison on New Year's Day before he even got to trial. So he left sort of Rose to face it all on her own. But don't feel sorry for her, because Rose actually not only participated in the murders, it was shown, but she actually murdered one child herself because Fred was in prison at the time. Anyway, we're going to look at her, just an article that's come out about the way she's living out her last years. She's 72 years old now. And she'll probably live a long life because she'll be being looked after in prison at the end of the day. She's got no worries, has she, being fed 3 times a day. Doesn't have to worry about paying her bills, or, she's got a doctor on tap. So she'll probably live quite a long life, but who knows. But apparently it's quite a miserable life and good. And that's what we're going to look at first. But before we start looking at the horrible Rose West, and the thing is, I think all of us will be glad to see she's miserable. We want her to be miserable. I don't think that's a human feeling. The horrible things that Rose did, you certainly wouldn't want her to be happy, would you? So first of all, though, I want to say thank you to everyone. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. Don't forget to, when you subscribe, don't forget to press notifications, and don't forget to press all notifications. Also, I'd like to say thank you to my members. We had our members live last night where we actually talked about Paul Doyle in the members live last night, and other things. Thank you for being members, and special thank you as well to all of you out there who buy me Ko-Fi's or send super stickers, PayPal me, send emails, send suggestions for cases, or leave nice messages. Thank you so much. I appreciate all the support anyone gives to my channel. Okay, let's take that off now. So then, time to say hello. Hello, lurkers. All you lurkers out there who like to watch but don't like to join in the chat. Hi, thank you for watching. Hi to replay crew, people who can't make the live but they will be watching later. Hi, thank you for watching. And now I'm going to come into the chat, just say hello to everybody who is in the chat and is brave enough to venture into the chat. So remember to be remember to be disrespectful. I was sort of caught between saying don't be disrespectful and remember to be respectful. So please, no, don't be disrespectful in the chat. Our chat is not, we don't shout at each other, argue with each other. If we don't agree with each other, we just scroll on by, don't we? Or accept somebody else's opinion. So you attack the argument, not the person, as they say. And certainly don't attack me because I might cry. I won't, though. I won't. And yeah, let's see who's here. Oh, and just remember not to mention other YouTube channels by name. You can mention other channels, but not by name. And that's it, really. That's basically it. And always be respectful to the families. Don't have to be respectful to the twonks if we're talking about twonks like Rose West. But even her family, you have to be respectful to, because you know what? It's not the family's fault sometimes when their relatives turn out to be twonks, is it? So, hi, Daniel. Hi, Angel. Hi, Geordie. Hi, Bluebell. Hi, Brit. Exactly, Angel. Not even safe walking your dog. I mean, that, I don't know if you remember the case, but we covered it quite a lot at the time while they were looking for the perpetrator. I think the court case has come around relatively quickly as well, to be honest. So, right, let's start off looking at this horrible woman. But, you know, it is important to remember this case. You know, her face, I mean, it is like pure evil, isn't it? It just looks like pure evil looking at that face. And, you know, in the beginning with Rose West, when Fred West, is what happened, how it all sort of came to everyone's attention. There's a really good documentary at the moment on Netflix about Fred and Rose, and I think it's a very insightful documentary because when this first came about, what had happened was Fred apparently was always making jokes. Fred and Wes were always making jokes to their other children that if they didn't behave themselves, they'd end up under the patio, like one of their children. And this sort of came to light to the police and social services, etc. So they started looking into it. And after initially, I mean, you'll hear the actual interviews in that documentary that's on at the moment on Netflix. The actual interviews, hearing Fred's voice is quite eerie, you know, and the way he sort of jokes about it all. Anyway, of course, at first he denies it completely. You know, what do you mean? How could she be under the patio? You know, it's just a joke. It's just a joke that we have in the family. Now, you know, I don't know about you, but in your family, but, you know, I didn't have a perfect family, but we never joked about anyone being buried in the garden or, you know, it's quite a strange family joke, isn't it? So apparently, and then bit by bit, I think they started digging up, the police started digging up, and Fred then, I think, in a damage limitation exercise, because Fred West knew that actually it wasn't just Heather who was his daughter, their daughter, that was buried under the patio. There were several women, and also inside the house, in the cellar, under the floor, there were more girls, you know. So he knew that. So he was trying to, in the end, he sort of admitted to Heather being there. He was trying to get them just to dig in one part. But of course, what happened was they found 2 bones from 2 different people. So that's where, you know, at first they thought they'd found Heather, but when the bone was examined, it was found it couldn't be from a girl for her age or whatever. And then they found another bone that was Heather's. So they had 2 bones, 2 thigh bones, I think it was. So belonging to 2 different people. So they knew there was more than one person. And that's when, you know, everything just sort of snowball from there, didn't it? And as I say, if you want, you know, I mean, I have done a video about it. You can find a video on my channel about it. But, that, you know, it's not as good as the Netflix documentary, unfortunately. The Netflix documentary, I can definitely recommend it if you don't know much about this case, if you're new to the case of the Wests. So Fred and Rose were married. And had several children together, but they also had children. He had children with other women. Rose supposedly had children to some of her clients, because Fred was like a pimp for her. They were involved in all these sex parties. They were a bit like the Diddy Mushroom freak-offs. You know, they would have them all the time. And Fred liked to watch Rose getting it on with other men, and you know, it's just a horrible, seedy story. So when Fred was first arrested, he insisted that that Rose had nothing to do with anything. He seems to have, I think they were in love, you know, he was certainly besotted by her, I would say. But initially, he said she had nothing to do with it. It was him. You know, he tried to protect Rose, didn't he? And at first, I think there was sympathy for Rose from a lot of sources, because people thought, oh, she was under coercive control. You know, even before we even knew that expression then, that Rose, she's of limited intelligence, they would say about her. But I think she's really pretty intelligent, to be honest. They said she, you know, had learning difficulties. She'd been abused herself, apparently, when she was a child by her father or whatever. There's all these sort of stories. So I think initially there was sympathy for Rose, and Rose was not arrested immediately. But of course, what transpired in the end was it turned out that one of the murders, one of the girls, the children who were underneath the patio, who was the child of Rena Costello, who was also under the patio or in the cellar, her daughter, I think she was called Charmaine, she had disappeared and been murdered. The thing is, when her mother came looking for her, they killed the mother as well. But anyway, when the little girl suddenly realised the little girl had not been seen, and then it turned out she'd been murdered. But the problem for Rose there was Fred was in prison at the time that she was killed, so Fred could not have done it. So it had to have been Rose. It had to have been Rose. And that's when it all went wrong for Rose. So then Rose was arrested also. And anyway, went to court. To cut a long story short, Rose was just as guilty as Fred was. She was complicit in sex assaults on people as well. That witnesses came forward and said that Rose had participated in everything, you know. So not only she had murdered one of those children on her own, you know, Fred wasn't even there. You couldn't even say she was an accomplice. He was in prison. He had the best alibi you can have. But somebody killed that girl in that time, so it had to be Rose. So that's when everybody's sympathy sort of dissipated for Rose. Rose blamed everything on Fred. Oh, it's that Fred Weston. You hear her talking as well on that Netflix documentary. She always sounds like a lunatic to me, and like a real harridan. She's like, you know, I think far from her being an unwilling participant, I think she was probably a protagonist in everything. And, you know, it's always harder for us to accept, isn't it, when a woman does these terrible things, especially, you know, murdering your own children. It's always harder to accept when it's a woman, but, you know, we have to accept there's a lot of evil women out there. It's not only men who are evil. It may be more men, but at the end of the day, there are bad women out there, like Rose, you know, don't get much worse than Rose. And she has the unfortunate, what's the word, distinction, if you like, of being one of the very few female killers. You know, she ranks alongside Myra Hindley, Joanna Dennehy, but you know, for killing children as well. It's so unusual for a woman to kill children. You know, really is rare, especially like serial killing children. It's different, you know, whether there's someone suffering depression and loses control. We're talking about a woman who actually seemed to enjoy it, you know, or certainly not value anybody else's life at all. So she's had to face it all on her own since Fred decided to take himself off this planet. He didn't even face justice. So ultimately, he's a complete coward, didn't even face up to what he did. And he left Rose to take the hit, if you like, for everything. And I think Rose thought she might even get off. But when this evidence was found that Fred was actually in prison when one of the girls was killed, that was the end of Rose, really, wasn't it? Okay, so the reason that we're talking about this, let me just make sure I haven't missed anybody coming in again. Hey, Daniel. Can't remember if I said hello to Daniel or not. I think I did, but hi, Jojo. Hi, Swin. Hi, Heather. Hi, David. Hi, Geordie. And now I've forgotten who I've said hello to and who I haven't, of course. So if I'm repeating it, sorry. And if I miss you, please excuse me, because when I get into the story, I do tend to sort of not look at the chat. Okay, so yeah, this is just a story that's been in the papers. The reason that I'm talking about this is this story has been in the papers about Rose West, increasingly frail. Oh my God, feel so sorry for her. You know, this woman is definitely, where's my help? This woman is 100% going to hell. She's definitely going to hell. And the only reason that I might not want her to go to hell was, is she going to join Fred there? Do you know what I mean? I hope they're not going to be reunited. I hope there's different parts of hell. I wouldn't like to think that they'd be back together again, unless it's just like, you know, in misery. But she's definitely going to hell. She's probably one of the most wicked people you will ever read about. And yeah, she got, that's right, Heather, evil eyes, but she's got dead eyes, hasn't she? You know, how often do we see this? She's also got that thing with the one eye bigger than that I'm always going on about. But yeah, she just looks like, they, you know, eyes being the window to the soul. As we know, there is nothing behind this woman's eyes. If you can actually, in cold blood, kill your own daughter, just because of, I think apparently she was trying to leave home. You know, we'll never know the inside story, obviously. Only Rose knows exactly what happened, and Fred, of course, and Heather. But of course, Heather and Fred are gone from this world. But she knows. You think she'd at least say what really happened, wouldn't you? But you know, normally you say oh, and put their family out the misery. She is the family. You know, normally we would, you know, urge someone who's done one of these terrible things to tell the truth about what happened for the sake of the family, so the family gets answers. What happens when the murderer is the family, you know? I mean, having said that, there's the brothers and sisters of Heather that would probably like to know exactly what happened. But yeah, horrible woman. So apparently it's been revealed that she spends her days in prison in isolation in the West Yorkshire prison where she is an inmate. And newspapers report, and this is the Sun, I think, that reported on it, that Rose West, who has spent the last 30 years, 30 years, gosh, it doesn't seem like that long ago. So she's been in prison for 30 years. So apparently she's become increasingly frail. She is at HMP Newhall in Wakefield. And Rose, along with her husband Fred, tortured, RAPD'd and murdered an unknown number of women between 1967 and 1987. And the reason that they say that is the police definitely think there are more. They do think that, you know, they do think that there are more. There are more that we'll never know about. There's other people out there, other families looking for their loved ones, because they killed hitchhikers. They had lodgers that they killed. You know, there'll be missing people out there, or families of missing people out there, and the answer lies with Fred and Rose West. And she could help them, you know, and tell them what's happened to their loved one. If she, you know, she needs to save her mortal soul, in my opinion. So she can't take back what's happened. The only thing she can do is maybe confess and put some other families out of their misery. But anyway, it's ironic. So we've got Rose Weston, of course, the other lady that we're going to be talking about, the trial of her murderer. And that'll make you angry. It turns out the person that's accused of murdering Anita Rose, so another Rose, but funny, isn't it? It's turned out and said, anyway, was wanted by the police, living under the radar. You know, living under the radar. It's so annoying, that, isn't it, that people can do that and then go on to murder someone. Anyway, so yeah, most of them they killed at their home in Cromwell Street, which became known as the House of Horrors, with 9 sets of bones found under the patio and cellar of the house. And don't forget their previous house before that, bodies were found as well. So Fred, a builder, killed himself in prison while awaiting trial on 12 murder charges, while mother of eight, just shows you don't have to be a nice person to have kids, do you? There's people out there desperate for children, absolutely would long to have children, longing to have children so that they can, spoil them and be nice to them. And you get someone like Rose bloody just dropping them like flies and can't even look after them. So she was convicted in 1995. My son wasn't even born then, of murdering 10 young girls and women. So the Sun reports that she spends her days alone in her cell, knitting and watching nature documentaries. Fellow inmates do not talk. Who's she knitting for? Anyway, fellow inmates do not talk to her, it's reported. And the serial killer is said to have resigned herself to dying in prison despite having maintained her innocence. She's understood now to be living in a disabled room because she now struggles to walk. And the couple's heinous crimes have been thrown back into the spotlight with the release of a new Netflix documentary, Fred and Rose West, a British horror story. I think this is something, people are always so quick as well to blame immigrants for all the ills in the world. But, these are homegrown British killers. In fact, all the three perpetrators, the three twonks we're going to talk about in this video, they're all British, white British. So recently discovered police interview tapes with Fred offer first-hand insight into the crimes of this notorious serial killing couple. Now, Fred was very concerned about Rose. He was tried to protect Rose. In the beginning, in the end, he tried to throw her under the bus, but that's because she cut off contact with him, I think. So in the end, they both threw each other under the bus a little bit. But in the first interviews you'll hear in that documentary, Fred is determined that Rose should not be brought into it. It's nothing to do with Rose. I did it all on my own, blah, de, blah, de, blah, de, blah. But of course, it turned out that that's not true. Oh, also, she's got a new name. I don't know if you knew this, but fancy changing your name in prison. But everybody knows who she is, apparently. But she's called herself, this was a year ago, but it's not giving us the name. Let's have a look at the Sun article, because I'm sure in the Sun article, they did give the name. Oh, you've got to join the Sun Club to read it. All right, I'm not joining the Sun Club. Definitely not. I'm sure I already read it, actually. Let's see if it's in here. So I don't know why they do that, because they put their story behind a paywall. So all that happens is people go onto other newspapers to read it because they just copy it from that. Anyway, never mind. But yeah, so she changed her name by deed poll. But everybody apparently knows who she is anyway. So let's see. Yeah, Jennifer Jones. So I'll tell you what, if you were called Jennifer Jones, any of you out there called Jennifer Jones, you won't be very happy, would you? So she's changed her name to Jennifer Jones. Wonder why what was the point in doing that? Because apparently everybody knows who she is anyway in prison, and she's not going anywhere else, is she? Yeah. She changed her name to Jennifer Jones to disassociate herself from her serial killer husband. But, that's not going to work, is it? Sorry, Rose, I wonder if they can watch YouTube. I wonder if they watch, serial killer documentaries, if they're allowed to watch YouTube. I don't know. Anyway, it's understood she now finds it difficult to walk and rarely leaves her wing, although she can sometimes be seen sitting in the common areas on her own. Now, this is a picture of Fred and Rose when they were younger. Obviously, Rose is very young there. And I always find this picture very telling, because the way that Fred is looking at Rose, it's like adulation, isn't it? I think Fred was obsessed with Rose. I think, personally, I think Rose was the instigator behind most of it. I mean, he's not, I'm not saying he's a nice person, he's a horrible person. And he was controlled by what was between his legs, of course. But Rose sort of facilitated it, maybe even encouraged it, you know, because she joined in a lot of the sex assaults. So apparently other inmates who are aware of her real identity have spurned any attempts at friendship. I mean, who are you going to be friends with? Who's going to want to be friends with Rose West? Because even other murderers, unless they've murdered a load of people like she has, you know, even if they've murdered a child, their own child, nobody's done what Rose has done. Do you know, there's just not hard, nobody else. So everyone's going to hate her for what she's done. Probably even other child killers, but not so prolific. So who's going to want to be her friend? You know, I think maybe she did have friends earlier on when she was in prison, but anyway. So this is a source that talked to the Sun. This is someone who apparently was in the prison. And she says, no one talks to her because everyone knows who she is and what she did, even if she has changed her name. When I was there, she tried to make friends with the other women and gave them gifts like vapes, but she was rejected. Good. I hope she's miserable. So apparently she abandoned her attempts to appeal her conviction in 2001, and she's understood to be resigned to dying in the prison, according to the Sun. Now, don't forget, she can call herself Jennifer till she's blue in the face, but to everybody else, she will always be Rose West. So she's one of 36 women serving life sentences at HMP Newhall, and one of around a dozen over the age of 60. She is said to be very set in her ways and is allegedly abusive to prison guards when she doesn't get her own way. I mean, the impression, I think she's a very aggressive person. Even in the tapes where she's talking to her kids or her friends or whatever, she's so aggressive and shouting all the time. So in this Netflix documentary, you can see the previously unseen police video and unheard audio recordings. And if you haven't seen it, I mean, I just sat and binge watched the whole thing. You can't stop watching it. You know, it's very interesting, so how it all progressed. I would definitely recommend that Netflix documentary. And if I was to do a poll now of who feels sorry for Rose, is it Diddums, poor Rose, frail, facing the last days alone in that? Nobody cares. Nobody cares, do they? Nobody cares, Rose. Just like you didn't care about your victims, even your own daughter. You didn't care. That's how much we care about you. We don't. We don't care. We hope you're miserable. And when you go, you're going to hell. Okay. Yeah. Oh, there's definitely more Kelly. Bluebell. Definitely more people. And yeah, Fred said that. Yeah, he said it was worse than that. There'll be loads more probably. Anyway, his eternal soul is, God knows what's going on with him on the next planet or the next level. And Rose is going the same way. She doesn't come clean about things. Okay, so that I wanted to talk about first of all. Now we're going to talk about Anita Rose. Now I'm just going to check up on the live. Okay, so the hearing has started of Paul Doyle, but I think we'll do that at the end, because by the time we get to do that, after we've talked about Anita Rose's the trial of her murderer or alleged murderer, more or less probably the hearing will be over. So we'll be able to get the whole story sort of all at once. So let's just talk about Anita now. Poor Anita. As I say, poor woman, walking her dog Bruce like she did every morning. And she should have been able to do in safety that morning. Here's Anita up at the top there, but I put the bigger picture of her on. Poor woman. And if you remember anything about you'll remember this pink jacket, this distinctive pink jacket, and this last CCTV of Anita with her dog Bruce setting off for the regular dog walk. And look, who did she bump into? This twonk. That's who she bumped into. And he took her life. He took her life. And not only that, he took her things home for trophies. Foul man. So let's have a look at the let me just put some windows down. There's a reason I've got so many windows up is there are still so many things that I've got to tell you about that I haven't had a chance to tell you about yet. And what I do is I leave them up in the Google thing. So, and when I turn my computer off, I just turn it off. So when I come back on, they're still on there, you know, because it's, I haven't turned the computer off properly. Because one day, there's one story in particular I'm dying to tell you, but it just hasn't come up the right time yet, but it will. So, yeah, and there's always, of course, other things going on, isn't there? But as soon as I saw this about Anita, I thought, this has got to be, you know, we've got to finish, you know, you'll know if you follow my channel. Once I start with a story properly, I stick with it till the end, and the end is normally the successful prosecution, hopefully, and the sentencing. So here she is, Anita. Now, this man who's accused of murdering her in a vicious and brutal attack had been living off-grid while he was on the run from police for 2 years, a court has heard. So that man, Roy Barkley, who's 56, same age as Anita, really. Anita was 57, bless her. Still many years ahead of her, should have had many years ahead of her. You know, let's just have a quick look at him. So here he is, been on the run from police for 2 years, living rough. You know, why people should be kept better track of, shouldn't they? Anita's death at the end of the day, this guy, you know, some deaths, I mean, all murders are like, some are avoidable, aren't they? Like, to me, this is completely avoidable. This man should not have been roaming around free to attack someone. You know, this is definitely like a failing of the system. That this poor woman or any man should be able to wander around taking their dog for a walk and not be in fear of being robbed, attacked. You know, at the end of the day, Anita was attacked because she was vulnerable, because she was a woman on her own, you know, and this man took advantage of that. So he's been charged with murdering Anita, 57, after she was found seriously injured in Brantham in Suffolk. On the 24th of July last year. And she died in hospital 4 days later. Prosecutor Christopher Paxton Casey said that Mr. Barkley kicked, stamped on and struck Miss Rose, who had been walking her dog, as she lay on the ground, and kept her belongings as trophies. So she was, you know, he's knocked her over and she's fell on the ground, and then he's carried on attacking her. He denies murder. Of course he does. Mr. Paxton said Miss Rose, a grandmother of 6, left her home in Brantham in the early morning of the 24th of July to take her dog Bruce for a walk, as she often did. Her partner, Richard Jones, who was a lorry driver and who was away with work, said he called her as she was walking at 5:24. So she's an early bird walker. like me, that's when I like to walk, especially in the summer. That's when, it's nice to walk early in the morning because there's not many people about. But of course, that makes it more, makes it more dangerous because there's not many people around. But, you should be able to walk. If I want to take my dog for a walk at 2 o'clock in the morning, I should be able to do it without being attacked. People shouldn't be victim blamed. Why shouldn't you? You're not the one who's doing anything wrong. You should be able to go out anytime you want and walk your dog. Anywhere you want. So Ipswich Crown Court heard that their call finished at 5:29. So that was the last time he spoke to his partner. And it was less than an hour before Miss Rose was attacked. So Mr. Paxton told the jury that Miss Rose was subjected to numerous kicks, stamps and blows being delivered to her face, head and body, which left her with injuries akin to those seen following road traffic accidents. Oh my God. I mean, that takes a lot of hate, doesn't it, to do that to someone? He didn't even know her. How could he be so hateful towards her? And Mr. Barclay's walking boots with a suspected murder weapon, the jury heard. And the prosecution stated that the pattern on the sole of the defendant's boots were compared with the marks left on Miss Rose's face. The jury was told that Mr. Barclay lived mostly off-grid. Bet he went and picked his gyro up, though. I bet he went and, he'll have been picking up his money from the state. And in the countryside, because in 2 years he'd been unlawfully at large. And he added that the defendant was trying to avoid the police and the authorities, trying to avoid being recalled back to prison. And the prosecution described him as cunning and resourceful and said he carried dog biscuits with him. Oh my God. Yeah, carried dog biscuits with him just in case he wanted to attack someone with a dog. So Mr. Barclay had kept items belonging to Miss Rose as trophies, including a pink jacket, the court was told. After Miss Rose was left seriously injured, Mr. Barclay had searched on the internet, how long does DNA last at a crime scene? So he might have been off-grid, but he had a phone. He had a phone and he had internet. You know what I mean? So that's from his gyro probably and whatever he was robbing from everybody. And then Miss Rose died at Adam Brooks Hospital in Cambridge from her traumatic head injuries. So unfortunately, although she was still alive when she was found, because he just left her there for dead, he could have called an ambulance. He could have tried to make things better, but no, he didn't. He left this poor woman, partner, she's a grandmother, just left her to die. God, I hope they throw the book at this man. If he's guilty, of course, because he might not be guilty. Some people will probably go, no, you don't know, he's innocent until proven guilty. Yeah, okay. So, anyway, that's continuing, that trial. So I just wanted to tell you about it. I will, as soon as there's a verdict or if any other details come out, I will be back with those details. We'll follow that case really, we'll follow it through to the verdict. So, okay, now let's have a look at this other twonk. Let me just change over the picture. This man, Paul Doyle. Yes, he's the one. He's the one who ploughed his car into all these Liverpool fans that were celebrating Liverpool winning the Premier League. He's the one who ploughed his car into prams, children, with reckless, just did not care. In fact, if anything, we watched the video, the full video, last night in the members live, and it just seems apparent. He was deliberately ploughing into people. He was trying to cause injury. He didn't care there were children there. Didn't care about any of it. Now, it's funny. When it came out that he's a white 53-year-old male, didn't get Tory politicians' wives saying, oh, go and burn down the houses of all 53-year-old white males who live in the suburbs, did you? Funny that, isn't it? You know, if they, oh my God, thank God that he wasn't Asian or Muslim or any other sort of ethnic minority, because they'd be calling, baying for the blood of everybody. You know, it's like, oh, it's a 53-year-old. Oh, he was in the Royal Marines. Oh, it must be something terribly wrong. You know, it's like, he's just a horrible person. He's a horrible person who was stoned out of his head or drugged up out of his mind. And he showed complete disregard for children's lives, you know. And when you think about what happened after Southport, when it was thought that it might be a Muslim attacker, you know, I had people leaving messages, especially women, Muslim women, because don't forget, if you're a Muslim woman, you can't hide it. You've got to wear the burqa or you've got to wear a headscarf or whatever. You can't pretend you're not Muslim. Do you know what I mean? It's like they were terrified of going out the house, terrified of leaving the house, even just to pop to the shops, because of all the hate out there. So where's all this hate for 53-year-old respectable businessmen who live in the suburbs? You know, why is nobody calling for all 53-year-old white businessmen's homes to be burnt down? You know, it makes me angry. All that assumption. So I never thought it was a terrorist attack. As soon as those witnesses on the first day were saying that whoever it was beeping, to me, I just thought it can't be a terrorist attack because, you know, they don't beep. You know, if it was a terrorist attack, they'd just be straight in there. But he was trying to get through, and he's just lost it. He's just completely lost it because probably of the substances that he's been taking. You know, and he's a local Liverpool person. I mean, is he even maybe a Liverpool fan? What was he doing there? Why was he down that road? How was he allowed to get down that road? These are all the things that need to be looked into. I do blame the police as well for this, because I don't think they dealt well with it. That car should not have been anywhere near that road. Whether an ambulance had got in there or not, there should have been better controls, because he could have been a terrorist. You know, terrorists will always go to places where there's a lot of people all together. You know, he could have anything. So something went wrong, didn't it? But ultimately, he's the one who did it. Nobody else did it. He did it. Maybe there's reasons that he shouldn't have got allowed near those people in the first place. But he is the guilty one. He is allegedly. You know, we've got to keep saying allegedly, even though he's actually on video. But yeah. So he's the twonk, isn't he? So let's hear a little bit about him. Let's have a look at him. Well, let's go to the Daily Express is doing this live blog. So let's go to the beginning. So, of course, all the photos came out yesterday. We talked about it on in the members live, but yeah, very quickly the mainstream media was on his, his social media. He's got lots of social media, so loads of photos came out about him really quickly. Where should we start with this? Yeah, so yesterday, that was the first time we saw photos of him. Do you know, I don't know why people, right, I'm just going to have a totally unrelated, this is a bit of waffle. You can put your waffle emojis up if you like, the members, because I'm doing just a little bit of waffle. You know, these like designer things, you know, when people wear something that's got a neck, you're like doing free advertising for this company. It's like, you see the North Face things around a lot, don't you? And it's just like, why would you want to wear something and advertise for them? They should give you a discount for that. Free advertising. They've got advertising walking around. You know, I always think that about designer clothes as well. When a lot of people like designer clothes, don't they? I don't. But a lot of, they're like, I'd have Primani all over my clothes because that's where I get my clothes from most of the time. Not always, but most of the time. You know, it'd be Primani's not quite the same, I suppose, as... I don't know, I can't even think of any designer clothes because designer clothes just leave me cold, just to have pay another 300 euros because it's designer. Means nothing to me. But the other thing is, why do people then go around actually advertising for these companies? Anyway, that's just a little waffle, a little whinge, little pet hate of mine. So let's start at the bottom here. So yesterday, Paul Doyle was named by police as the man they believe was behind the wheel of the Ford Galaxy that injured 79 people at Liverpool FC's title parade on Monday. He's a former Royal Marine from West Derby in Liverpool, 53 years old. So apparently the police are continuing to work at pace. This is what they said, wasn't it, in the press conference yesterday? The investigation's at an early stage. Prosecutors and police are continuing to work at pace to review a huge volume of evidence. This includes, can you imagine how much evidence they'll have? How many videos, how many photos? You know, because this is the age we live in now. Anything happens, people just get their phone out straight away, don't they? You know, that's just the way it is. So they will have a massive volume of evidence. So multiple pieces of video footage, numerous witness statements. It's important to ensure every victim gets the justice they deserve. So this is a massive case, isn't it, really? And also they said at the press conference, I fully understand how this incident has left us all shocked and saddened, and I know many will continue to have concerns and questions. Our detectives are working tirelessly with diligence and professionalism to seek the answer to all of those questions. And when we're able to, we will provide further information. So what do we know about him? He's a married father of three boys, I believe, a business owner who lives in a quiet cul-de-sac, a former Royal Marine, having served during the 1990s. He now works in cyber security, according to social media. Funny that, isn't it? You know, the mainstream media, they're always criticising social media, but here they are reporting what social media say. So neighbours have claimed he has a nice family with well-behaved children. Yeah, probably frightened to death of him. Anyway, so the journalists and police descended on the court building 3 hours ago. The court case was listed at Liverpool's Magistrates Court for 9:45 a.m. and the building, which is the imposing Liverpool Crown Court building, opened at 9 a.m. to press and the public. By 8:30, a queue of a dozen journalists had formed, keen to get one of the court's 3 to 6 dozen press seats. Alongside the queue of reporters, there started to form a row of uniformed Merseyside police officers. Anticipating interest from Liverpool fans and members of the public in the morning's legal proceedings. I wonder if they put a bulletproof jacket on this guy or a stab vest, because, you know, he is a target, isn't he, to all Liverpool fans will be fuming with him, won't they? The court building, nestled in the heart of Liverpool and near the famous waterfront, is also just 500 yards from Water Street, where Monday's shocking events occurred that left 79 fans injured and 7 still in hospital with serious but stable injuries. So 79 fans injured. So that's 79 people. I mean, luckily, how nobody's died, I have no idea, because if you watch that video, it just seems incredible that there are no fatalities. And I'd say children amongst them as well. So if you take the people that were injured, their friends, their families that would all want to go to this court case, it's right there in Liverpool. I bet it was mobbed. So there are 7 still in hospital with serious but stable injuries. So the interest means a second courtroom with a video link. So the Daily Express and other reporters are queuing up inside the building, outside the courtroom, waiting for the hearing to start. Interest from media, and especially families of those affected by Monday's incident, have been told a separate courtroom in the building, Court 33, Court 33, meaning it's on the same 3rd floor as the court where Paul Doyle will appear, will open with a video link to the main court. So he is appearing, but there'll be a video link then into an overflow court because they're expecting so many people. Yeah. Do you know, when I looked at this picture, it's like, I know he's got his Christmas hat on, but it doesn't look really happy, does it? You know, it's like that Uncle Knobhead in the corner, isn't it? Like, who puts his Christmas hat on because it came out of his cracker, but there's just something not quite in his eyes there, is there? That it doesn't seem to be really having a good time. But anyway, I don't know. So Doyle will appear before District Judge Paul Healy, and he faces 7 serious charges. The first is dangerous driving involving a Ford Galaxy titanium vehicle. And don't forget, his wife was sat watching this at home on the telly and saw their car. That was first she knew of it. So I do really feel for his wife and his family, because I expect they were watching it on the telly. Oh, God, this is terrible, you know, and then, oh, hang on a minute, that's my car or our car. So then he is charged with 2 counts of S18 wounding with intent, 2 counts of S18 grievous bodily harm with intent, and 2 charges of attempting to cause grievous bodily harm with intent. So there were around 25 reporters patiently waiting in the corridor outside Court 3-6, waiting to come in as lawyers and clerks settle first in the room. 2 court artists were let in first to make sure they have a view of the dock, where Doyle, who is on remand and currently in the court cells, will soon appear. Okay, we've seen that. So before I carry on, I just want to come back to the chat, just make sure everybody's okay. You're all okay. I think you're all okay. Okay, so the official charge sheet states that Paul Doyle is facing multiple charges of unlawfully and maliciously wounding individuals, and this was allegedly with intent to do them grievous bodily harm, and that would be contrary to Section 18 of the Offences Against Person Act 1861. There you go. I'm surprised he hasn't been charged with attempted murder, because he definitely sometimes, we watched that video. He aims straight for the people. You know, you can see him specifically aiming for groups of people in which there were children. So the court listing states that Paul Doyle has been charged with driving a mechanically propelled vehicle, namely a Ford Galaxy titanium vehicle, dangerously on the roads. This would be contrary to Section 2 of the Road Traffic Act 1988 and Schedule 2 to the Road Traffic Offenders Act 1988. The maximum penalty is listed as, I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean, so I won't bother reading that. Let's just have a look at this video of him. There might be a little advert. Yep. So this is him. You won't see him or anything, but this is him apparently in the van arriving. I'm surprised there aren't. Where's all the people? I really thought there'd be more people than that. Maybe they didn't realise, and maybe they're all queuing up. There's the Queen Elizabeth Law Courts there in Liverpool. I wonder if he's ever, there's the queue going in. I wonder if he's ever, I thought there'd be more people than this, to be honest. I wonder if he's ever been in court before. See, they didn't mention any drugs offences there. Wasn't he supposed to have been driving under the influence? Don't know if they're going to bring that up. I don't know how this is going to go. I mean, what sort of sentence is he going to get? But how can he go home? How can he go home and probably, you know, his family are going to be getting stick for this, aren't they? Or I'd be surprised if they're not. Oh, yeah. Well, let me know in chat what you think. What sort of sentence do you think he's looking at for what he's been charged with so far? I mean, luckily, as I say, nobody died, so he's so lucky not to be up on murder charges, isn't he? You know, so lucky that, you know, he could so easily have been he could have be up for murder charges right now, or at the best manslaughter. So he's a very lucky man, actually. So yeah, footage has shown a van believed to have been carrying Paul Doyle arriving at Liverpool Magistrates Court this morning. He's facing multiple charges, including driving a vehicle dangerously and wounding with intent, and he's due in court imminently. Then there was a slight delay, as normal. Our reporter at Liverpool Magistrates Court has said there's a slight delay to proceedings, and the media still have not been allowed into the courtroom. So the case was scheduled, so this was at 10:03. The case was scheduled for 9:45. These court cases, they rarely start on time, do they? You know, there's always something. Video footage has shown a van believed to be carrying Doyle arriving at the court ahead of his hearing. There's something at the bottom there, because Russell Brand, I think it was Geordie last just said as well, and I had seen that, but I'd just like to stay on topic. But yeah, Russell Brand's in court as well today. And then, of course, soon we'll be having the Tates. Andrew Tate, he's going to be in court soon, isn't he? And his brother. I've got to think of a nickname for them too, because they're just horrible people, aren't they? But yeah, I just hope, you know, they need to weed out all these bad influences on British society. You know, Britain's just gone just down the toilet, and it's because of the influence of horrible people, I think. Hatred, bigotry, you know, just so many horrible things. Misogyny, every that you can imagine in Britain at the moment. So the media files into the courtroom. It's a windowless court with a huge glass panelled dock, thick glass that goes all the way to the ceiling. What would normally be seats for 12 jurors in a magistrate court trial are now being used by the press, while a number of prosecution lawyers and Merseyside police detectives involved in the case are also seated. This is expected to be a brief hearing, which will send the case on to the Crown Court due to the serious nature of the alleged offences, possibly later today. So, of course, the mainstream media, most people by now, they've all gone onto his social media accounts, you know, and found all these, you know, all these photos and whatever, and they're all over the media. All his photos easily accessible now. And that's a shame for his family, isn't it, really? Because, you know, some people will be putting up, like, his family photos as well. So the prosecution lawyer representing the Crown Prosecution Service at today's hearing is Philip Asprey, and the counsel representing Paul Doyle is Richard Darby. Well, and he's from West Derby, isn't he? 5 detectives and 2... Oh, God, he got the short straw, didn't he? I just think, no, if you were a prosecutor, a defence lawyer, I mean, maybe you'd be glad to get these cases because they certainly give you a lot of publicity. But you just think, oh, God, would you really want to defend this guy? I had a student, for those who don't know, I'm a Spanish teacher, one of my students, he was a prosecution lawyer, a defence lawyer in the UK. It's very interesting to talk to him because, you know, I always think I quite would have liked to have been a lawyer, but I would have had to be a prosecution lawyer because I couldn't defend twonks. I could defend somebody who I thought was innocent. You know, I'd quite enjoy doing that, trying to help somebody. But, you know, knowing that somebody was guilty, I just don't know if I could do it. But anyway, this guy that used to come for classes, he was a retired defence lawyer. Very interesting guy to talk to, you know, and he said to me, well, he used to defend murderers, all sorts of people. And he said, in a murder case, you never plead guilty in the beginning. That's what he said. You always plead not guilty in the beginning, or you always advise your client to plead not guilty in the beginning. And then as the trial goes on and you see that maybe there's just no way they're going to get away with this, that's when you start looking at a plea deal. But normally, as the case, not until you're actually into the case. That's what he said anyway. So there's around 50 people in a small courtroom, and one reporter present says the courtroom is small but still contains around 50 journalists, police, legal staff and court staff inside, and they're quietly waiting for the district judge to come in and for Paul Doyle to appear. Yeah, so there's lots of pictures of him on his social media from all over the world. So he liked his travelling. So Paul Doyle is facing 7 charges following the incident, which resulted in 79 people. That's a lot of people, isn't it? Though I'm surprised there weren't more, to be honest. So he's accused of 2 counts of wounding with intent, 2 counts of causing grievous bodily harm with intent, 2 counts of attempted grievous bodily harm with intent, and 1 count of dangerous driving. And a wounding charge and an attempted grievous bodily harm charge relate to a child. So the district judge enters and the hearing is ready to proceed, and they call Paul up to the courtroom. He enters the dock. He's wearing a suit jacket, a white shirt unbuttoned at the top, and a grey tie. He has just confirmed. How can he have a grey tie on if he's got his shirt unbuttoned at the top? Anyway, he's just confirmed his name and address and sat down. I wonder what he's going to say. Anyway, we'll see. There are 2 female dock officers sat either side of Paul Doyle, and the Express's reporter observed that he came in looking around the room and at the row of reporters, but he is now sitting straight ahead and not looking at anyone. His short curly hair is neither smart nor combed. What does that mean? His short curly hair is neither smart nor combed. Strange. Do you know who he reminds me of? I've been thinking ever since I saw his first picture that I put on the community post early afternoon yesterday, or late afternoon. Do you know who he reminds me of? It reminds me of Wayne Couzens. You know Wayne Couzens? the guy who killed Sarah Everard, the policeman. That's who he reminds me of. Oh, thank you. Somebody's bought me a coffee. Thank you, Nick Knack. Very kind. Thank you so much. Let me put my thank you thing on. Anybody else think he looks a little bit like Wayne Couzens? And of course, the thing is, there's always the surprise. Let me put my thank you, Nick Knack. I've got to get some more thank you little buttons up there. Perhaps a bit more interesting. But that's very kind. Thanks so much. That's really much appreciated. Anybody else think he looks like Wayne Couzens? It's just something about, yeah, it could be his brother, couldn't he? You know? And the thing is, like Wayne Couzens was a policeman, wasn't he? And he still, you know, abducted, RAPE'd and killed a girl, a young girl. So because this guy was a Royal Marine, we can never think that just because somebody's, you know, given service to their country and been a good guy at some point, that they're really a good guy in general life. I mean, we don't know much. You know, his neighbours all say he was a nice guy, but was he though? Is he though? You know, it's like you think, well, it can't be that nice a guy, because even though he might have been off his head on drugs or whatever, that's a big thing that he did. You know, there were police everywhere there. So why did he not just sit tight in his car, lock the doors, wait for the police? The police were coming. The police were literally a couple of yards away. So, you know, I understand he was nervous because there were people attacking his car. But that was because he was trying to get through. So it's like, you know, so I do understand that he probably panicked. But still, even if you did panic, you know, absolutely mowing into people, you know, just doesn't make sense to me. Or did he just have, you know, we were saying in the members live last night, what it reminds me of a bit is that if you ever saw that film with Michael Douglas, Falling Down, you know, when he's on his way to work one day and he gets stuck in traffic and he just snaps completely and goes on this crime rampage. It sort of reminded me of that a bit. Did he just snap? Have things been getting him down? Maybe he's got a lot going on in his life, and then that was just the final straw. You know, so I don't know. Yeah. You know, what is the answer? But it was a good film, wasn't it, David? Yeah, a good film with Michael Douglas. So thanks again, Nick Knack, for that. So yeah, anyway, so this Wayne Couzens lookalike, who seems to me is just this, I don't know. Yeah. So he's entered the dock anyway. His short curly hair is neither smart nor combed. Not sure what that means, but anyway. So the court is now hearing a legal request from the prosecution that 2 children on the indictment cannot be named. This is normal as they are under 18. But the prosecution have also requested in this exceptional case that the exceptional step is taken that the 4 adults on the indictment are also not named. Why do you think that is? Maybe they've requested it, that, you know, so they don't get, you know, they don't get talked about in the paper and on media, social media, mainstream media, etc. So the hearing will have a 15-minute adjournment to discuss legal matters. So why children are not usually named in court cases? Even though there's not an automatic ban in UK adult courts on naming children involved in cases, judges have the power to grant anonymity under Section 45 of the Youth Justice and Criminal Evidence Act 99. It is generally to protect them from harm, and it applies to people under the age of 18. Now, we have to remember about the other controversial event last year when the Southport attacker was not named, but he was 17, don't forget. So, you know, he couldn't be named. When the judge finally named him, you know, it was a special thing to name someone under the age of 18. And I think he only ended up getting named, but well, to probably stop speculation that he was Muslim, but also because I think he was 2 weeks before his 18th birthday. So he wasn't far off 18. But that's why he wasn't named in the first place, as far as naming suspects is concerned. Now, they took a little while to release the name of this guy, but of course they have to wait till they can charge him. You know, the thing is, I think we have to remember that we always want things to happen quickly. And in this day and age now, things circulate so quickly on social media. It must put a big pressure on the police. You've got to see that, really. It is a big, because, you know, people want answers quickly. And when there are no answers, what happens is people on social media start making up answers, don't they? That's what happens. So the police are under this massive pressure, but they have to go through their due process. They can't just say, oh, yeah, let's charge him, or let's give his name out, or let's do this, or let's do that. They've got to follow the due process. They've got to apply to the court, the Crown Prosecution Service. You know, there's a process they have to go through that us creators on social media, we don't have to go through that process. We can say, feels like we can say what the hell we like. Really, our only adjudicator is ourselves, and how sort of ethical we are. I mean, I'm sure I have, and I'm sure you have as well, particularly on TikTok, but not only on TikTok, on X a lot as well. Absolute lies that people make up, and what they do is they just say anything, and then if it turns out that it really is completely wrong, and you know they could get into trouble for it, they just delete it, don't they? They just delete it, the tweet or the video. Or how many people delete their content or their comments or their that's what they do, and they just make up history as they go along. And of course, police can't do that, so they've got to follow, you know, proper procedures. So I think we all always have to let you know. I know the police don't always do everything right. I'm not saying they do, but sometimes, you know, just sometimes there's not much they can do. So he's been taken out of the courtroom. The hearing's temporarily adjourned. Let's see if they come back. So now it's back in session. Paul Doyle has returned to the dock. And our reporter in the room says he's looking ashen-faced. As legal matters are discussed, he is looking down to the floor in the dock. So half an hour adjournment. So there was a half an hour adjournment, and he was returned to the cells. Look how much he looks like Wayne Cousins there. God, literally could be his brother. So it's reported that he's holding back tears in the dock. Well, do you know, yeah, but who's he crying for? Is he crying for the babies that he tossed into the air, or is he crying for himself? Further adjourned as the judge considers legal issues. So it's been reported that Paul Doyle looked emotional as he came into the courtroom this morning. And looking around the courtroom, his face was crumpling slightly as he held back tears. When District Judge Paul Healy asked for him to identify himself, he replied in a croaky voice to confirm his name, his date of birth and address in Liverpool. Our reporter says none of his family or friends are present. Well, they wouldn't want to be present, would they? You wouldn't, because they're going to, you know, they might get hassle from the other people that are there. So I'm not surprised at that. Proceedings adjourned again while legal matters are discussed. Things are expected to get going again at 11:30. So the prosecution has requested that adults on the charge sheet are kept anonymous by the media. Eleanor Barlow, a journalist with the PA news agency representing the media, spoke on behalf of the other 27 reporters in court. So then Then the judge, oh God, this is like the mushroom murder trial all over again. Proceedings were then adjourned again until 11:30 to consider the prosecution application. So I'll take it they're not back yet. While we have a short adjournment, the outside plaza of the court building has filled with 5 police patrol cars and several TV satellite trucks, showing the huge public interest in Monday's shocking events. A number of uniformed officers are also outside the courtroom. And while it rained in Liverpool, look how they're trying to fill things in with the weather. At the start of the day, the dark clouds are just starting to clear and blue sky breaks through. I think that's where we are at the moment. While we're just waiting for them to come back, they're supposed to be coming back at 11:30, which is 12:30 here in Spain, so it's just a couple of minutes. Let's have a look at Russell Brand appearing in court. So this is a funny old case, isn't it? Some people don't like Russell, other people do like him and think he's not guilty. You know, everybody's got their views, but he has pled not guilty to charges of RAPE and sex assault. So here's him appearing in court.
Morning.
To me, it looks like he's expecting to get attacked. I thought this last time when he appeared, as he walks in, he looks like he's literally expecting someone to attack him. Must be quite scary, really.
All right.
So what do we think of Russell Brand? Let me know what you think. Let me just go back. So, 49-year-old of Hambledon, Buckinghamshire. I thought he lived in the USA, but anyway. So he arrived just before 10 a.m, dressed in a black suit, black shirt, and wearing sunglasses and necklaces. He did not speak to the waiting press. What do we think about Russell then? I know what I think. I don't like him, but I know a lot of people do, so that's everyone's each to their own. So he entered his pleas of not guilty to all the allegations. 1 count of RAPE, 1 of indecent assault, 1 of oral RAPE, and 2 further counts of sex assault. Ugh. The 40, he's just always not saying Russell Brand. I don't know what it is about him. Just, I never understood what women saw in him, but there you go. The 49-year-old, he probably wouldn't see anything in me. Well, that's fair enough. The 49-year-old will now face a trial, which is scheduled to begin on the 3rd of June. So because he's pled not guilty, he has to go to trial. And, we'll probably follow that as it goes. So 3rd of June is Tuesday, I think. I think it's Tuesday. And that was it for his court appearance. He left court, didn't speak to photographers or journalists, accompanied by his solicitor and bodyguards. Oh, he's got bodyguards with him. And he's pled not guilty. Oh, so this is what he's accused of. So apparently he RAPD'd a woman in a hotel room following a Labour Party conference. That's not a very good advert for Labour, is it? It was alleged that after meeting that day at a theatrical event in Bournemouth in 1999, the woman went to the bathroom and Brand removed some of his clothing and pushed her on the bed, removed her underwear, and RAPD'd her. Ooh. Yeah. So what do you think? Is he guilty? And if he's not guilty, why would a woman make up something like that? Oh, so his solicitor is Oliver Schneider Sikorsky, who successfully defended Kevin Spacey. You know Kevin Spacey? Fantastic actor. But another one that was accused of all these sex assault allegations on men, wasn't it? In 2023, but he was cleared. And of course, his solicitor will have had a lot to do with that. Very good actor, Kevin Spacey. It's a shame, isn't it? You know, you find out, seen such good films that he's been in. And of course, he was in the series, wasn't he? God, what's that series about? About politics. Can't remember what it was called. An American series, but really good series. And one of the best films I saw him in was Seven. I mean, I must admit, he always played like psychopaths the best. So maybe there's a clue there somewhere. Maybe it wasn't that far from his true self. I don't know. But anyway, he was found not guilty. So we have to remember he's innocent of his charges. So Russell's got the same lawyer as him. I'm just coming back to the chat to see what we think about, what do we think about Russell? What's the general, there's a lot of yucks there. A lot of yucks about Russell, but some people think he's brilliant, so I don't know. Oh, thank you so much, someone. And that's another Kofi. Thank you. Let me put my, I didn't see it because I was holding forth about Russell Brand. Let me find my little thank you. I've got to get things easier to find. Thank you, someone. In fact, I'm going to see who someone was. Sometimes I have to go into the Kofi thing. It doesn't always tell me who it is. Right. It doesn't tell me who it is. So whoever somebody is, let me know who you are, because I got the name from Nick Nat, but I didn't get the name from, it just says somebody. Sorry. Anyway, thank you, somebody. That seems really rude to say thank you, somebody. Oh, Heather. Thank you, Heather. Oh, I don't know why it didn't come up with your name. It normally comes up with your name. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. They've got the big purse. Do you know, it's funny. He has a bit waffle now, bit waffle. The other day in class, one of my students, when they got their books out, they came and sat down, got their book out their back, and there was a great big moth on it. Great big moth on the book. And it was like, how long has it been since you got your books out? Or have you opened your purse recently? It was like, it was just so funny. I mean, it was dead. The moth, poor thing. It was dead. I don't know. You just like, didn't you do your homework then? And there's a dead moth on your book. Great big moth as well. Really big one. Poor thing. It was deceased. It's like the Monty Python sketch. You know, this moth is definitely deceased. But yeah, there were a lot of jokes about, you know, have you opened your purse recently, etc. So, thank you, Nick Nack, and thank you, Heather, for the coffees. And have a big latte with those coffees. Thank you. Right, let's see how we're getting on with this now. If we come back, has he come back into court yet? Let me find it. Oh, There's a slight delay to the restart, as proceedings were due to get back underway at 11:30. Oh, he's back now. The judge is back in the courtroom and Doyle has been recalled to the dock. I've just got to go and get some more Ribena because this is going on longer than I thought. I'm going to have a little quick bathroom break, get myself some more Ribena, and I'll be back in a minute. I'm just going to mute it for a minute. Talk amongst yourselves, but be good. I'm back. I'm back in the room. Now, it was a little bit longer than I thought because the dog had left me a nice present out the back. So I had to do a little bit of clearing up. Didn't you? You left me a nice present out the back, didn't you? Yes, you did. So anyway, I'm back now. Okay. No, Heather, not look, unfortunately, I can't. I mean, it's Friday. It'd be quite nice to have some red wine or even a vodka, but I can't because I'm driving. Got to take number one son to work, so I can't have a drink. Well, it is a little bit early, even. Oh, no, it's not that early, actually. Not here in Spain. It's nearly 1 o'clock. So, no, it's not early. I could have had one. But anyway, I can't. But So after clearing up after the dog, feeding the dog, clearing up after it, I'm back. Longer than 9 seconds, yeah, and I didn't. Haven't you? Never mind. Yeah. Oh, what about that? I mean, sorry, a little bit of waffle here while we're waiting for the judge to get going again. Oh, God, that case, you know, it really is going on a long time, isn't it? They like a bit of waffle, don't they? My God, you know, there's all sorts coming up in that case. So we've got another week to face of that. So hopefully next week will be the last week. But yeah, I know they're court cases. You can't rush court cases and stuff. But I do feel like there's been an extra special amount of waffle in that, what's the word? In that particular case, there has been an extra amount of waffle. Okay, let's go back to this. So here he is, he's back again. Look, he's got quite longish hair there, hasn't he? You know, whereas on his other photos, he's sort of practically bald, but I don't know what the time lapse is in between them. So anyways, returned to the courtroom. He walked into the dock from the door leading to the cells, looking rigid and tense, according to our reporter in the room. So just have a little squeak. It's very hot here today as well, so I have to drink a lot. But unfortunately, that means that you are going to the loo a lot. But you have to drink a lot of water. I'm not a lover of water on itself. I like to put a little bit of Ribena in it, just give it a little, you know, little zing. So he's rigid and tense. And the judge says he's now discussing reporting restrictions, and he says it is a necessary and proportionate step to grant anonymity in this truly exceptional case to the 4 adult victims in the case as well as the children, so they cannot be identified. They are 2 men and 2 women. The judge has also granted reporting restrictions, anonymity orders on the 2 children. Well, that was, we knew he was going to do that, didn't we? That he would make it that the children have to be anonymous, but he's made the adults anonymous too. So the court clerk is now reading out the 7 charges that Doyle is accused of. He stands in the court looking down with his hands clasped together. Doyle is not at this stage being asked to give any plea to the charges. They are just being read out in court. So I'm presuming after they get read out in court, he will have to give a plea, won't he? He'll plead today, and then that'll be the end of it. He's probably going to plead not guilty, be a bit like the Russell Brand thing. He'll probably plead not guilty, and then they'll set a date for trial, will they? Or will it? Is this too quick? I don't know. What do you think? So do you think he's going to plead not guilty? Or do you think he's going to plead guilty? Yeah, let's go back to that photo. Yeah, look, he's got a lot more hair there. Now, I don't know if that photo is before the others, because, of course, perhaps part of the reason he looks so much like Wayne Couzens. Let's get a picture of Wayne Couzens up. Part of the reason he looks so much like Wayne Couzens is because Wayne Couzens is a baldy as well. No offense to baldies, sorry. No, most men over the age of 40 or even younger are, if not fully bald, you know, they normally shave their hair, don't they, as they start to lose their hair. They start to shave their heads, don't they, because it looks better than the comb over. Remember years ago, men would go for the comb over look, wouldn't they? Look, here's Wayne. You know, is it just me, or he does look like he does look like Wayne Couzens, doesn't he? Let's put his picture up again. Where is he? Yeah. It's probably the baldy look that does it, but as I say, most men over 40. Some men go bald very early, don't they? In their 20s. It's unfortunate. The men in my family tend to go grey very early. Grey, white even. I think one of my brothers was white by the time he was 30, but he's, never went bald. So I'm just flicking in between the two there so you can give me your opinion. It's like you can't have everything, is it? At least women, women can dye their hair, though these days men do dye their hair as well, don't they? Much more than they used to. I think it was really unusual for a man to dye his hair years ago. But I think now it's pretty much common, that men do dye their hair, don't they? And why not? Women do it. Why not do it? Right, let's go back to this. So yeah, but on this picture, he looks less like Wayne Couzens because, of course, he's got hair on that picture. I wonder how Wayne Couzens is getting on. I mean, I don't, stay up at night thinking, how's Wayne Couzens doing? But you do sometimes I do think not only about Wayne Couzens, about like people like Rose. I mean, that's a lifetime, isn't it, that they're going to spend in prison, and deservedly so. How do you come to terms with that? You have to come to terms with it, I suppose. Yeah, do you remember comb over? I mean, like the Charltons, Bobby Charlton and Jackie Charlton. I mean, all bald men had comb overs once upon a time. I mean, it's ridiculous now when you think about it. When I think of comb overs, I always think of Rapsy Nesbitt. And, just like, yeah, toupees. A lot of people these days have hair transplants, don't they? Hair transplants are so common nowadays. I was surprised that Andrew Tate hasn't had a hair transplant, to be honest. But of course, lots of people have. And again, why not? Why not? If something makes someone feel self-conscious. I mean, some people don't care, do they? Some people make a thing of their baldness. Remember Kojak? God, I'm really going back now in time. There'll be younger people watching going, what? Kojak? But, that was a TV detective who was completely bald and used to suck a lollipop. He made a thing about being bald. I think that's the thing. If you're going bald or, whatever because we've all got our things that we're not happy about our appearance. I think the best thing to do is go with it, isn't it? Make a thing of it. There's no point in trying to pretend you're not bald or trying to pretend you haven't got big ears or you haven't got a big nose or you're not overweight. Well, you could go on a diet, I suppose. But, if you've got, we've all got things we're not happy about in our appearance. What else can we do but go with it? I think sometimes trying to change your appearance, we've seen how that can end up. Plastic surgery, Botox, etc. It can go too far, can't it? Anyway, I'm waffling again. So let's see if there's anything else come up. So far, I haven't succumbed to plastic surgery. Well, I can't afford it anyway. But I think even if I could afford it, I don't think I would have it. Don't know. Don't like the idea of injecting stuff into my face. I just don't like the idea. Okay, so what's happening? So he read in the charges. He wasn't asked to give any plea. And then the charges are sent to the Crown Court. So the district judge explains that the charges are so serious that they must be sent to the Crown Court before the honorary recorder of Liverpool Judge Andrew Menery. And this will take place at some stage this afternoon, no sooner than 12:30 p.m. So what does that mean for this hearing? I suppose we'll find out in a minute. So the charges are all so serious, they must be sent to the Crown Court. So this is, they said it was going to be a brief hearing. It's not exactly been brief, has it? But yeah, how will this end up? Will it end up with a plea? You know, what happened in the chat there is all these people have appeared in the chat. Tate has had a transplant, but he's bald as anything. Oh, I'm on the wrong chat here, aren't I? I'm on the wrong chat. Sorry. Because on the in the Sun, they were doing a live thing. Their chat is interesting, that's for sure. The Sun did this live court thing, and it's literally, they've just been on YouTube for how long? Let's have a look. They've literally been on YouTube for all this time and literally just showing this picture of the courthouse. And people are all in the chat saying weird things like, but no, are they just trying to earn their YouTube money out of it? As long as it's been on for nearly 3 hours. They've had this live stream where all you can see is the court. Oh my God, maybe I should do that. So you just put your camera on the court and they're not even saying anything. And all these people have gone in there and chatted. They're trying to build up, they've made it subscribers only, which I've made mine subscribers only as well. But they're just trying to build up their subscribers. At least I'm doing a show. That's just like, oh my God. There you go. Do you know what? There's some funny old things go on in YouTube Landia. Right, so I'm going back to where I was when I can find it. Of course, I've lost where I was now. There it is. Show this. I'm going to put that other window down. I don't think I need to look at the courtroom anymore. So I thought maybe they were going to get some interviews outside or something, so I left it on just to keep an eye on it. Oh, he's been denied bail. He's been denied bail. So Doyle was seen shaking his head in the dock as prosecutors told the court he had driven deliberately at the crowd and used the car as a weapon. And he's shaking his head. And the hearing is now adjourned and Doyle is returned to the cells. There will be another hearing after midday at the Crown Court in the same building. Oh, so they've just moved it to the Crown Court and that'll be on later. So I'll try and come back for that if I can. So so he's shaking his head, but he did drive at them deliberately. So 12:30, they won't be back till after 12:30, which of course is 1:30 in Spain, and it's not even 1 o'clock yet. So at some point I've got to take number one son to work. But I'll definitely be back at some point to let you know what's happening there. But gosh, yeah. Yeah, I can't believe that the Sun did that. Bye, David. See you later. Oh, no, not another funeral, David. I'm so sorry to hear about that. Sorry to hear about that, David. Yeah, so at some point later on today, I will be back to tell you what's happened. So anyway, there you go. Basically, not much happened in court, but having said that, it's been sent to the Crown Court. So he's been taken away, put back in the cells. He's been denied bail. for the moment anyway. And we'll be back later and see what happens in the Crown Court. Yeah, the best thing he could do. I always think, yeah, they could be bots, those weird commentators, Bluebell. I always think, I suppose, you know, they're not going to plead guilty. But you see, if he pleads guilty, the judge, the thing of it is, in my opinion, he's been very lucky he hasn't killed anyone. He has not killed anyone. He is so lucky that he's not facing murder charges. So he should just appreciate that. If he had any humility within him and any real remorse for what he did, mowing his car into prams, you know, if he had any real remorse, he should be pleading guilty, throw himself on the mercy of the court, save the Liverpool the cost of a trial, and just say, I just, you know, lost it. I mean, you know, I just lost it. He should just be honest. You know, I'd had too many drugs or whatever. He's obviously been taking drugs. The police said that early on. So he's had a drug test. It's been proven that can't be escaped from. He should just come out with it and throw himself on the mercy of the court, and he'll get a much lesser sentence that way. Also, he might get better thought of by people that at least he's owning up to his mistakes. And, you know, when I was telling number one son about him used to be in the Royal Marines, he said, oh, maybe he's got PTSD. You know, maybe he panicked because of all those people surrounding him and everything. And these are feasible explanations. But he's not doing that. If he's going to end up pleading not guilty, you know, nobody's going to have any sympathy for him, are they? Because you can only forgive someone for something if they actually admit they did it in the first place. Okay, I'll see you later. Thank you for watching. Let me put up my thank you for watching. I say, please don't forget to subscribe. Or why not think about becoming a member? And oh, thank you so much to Nick Nack and Heather, who bought me a Ko-fi. I'm just trying to find the comments. Oh, I can't find them now to put up there again. But thank you so much, Heather and Nick Nack, for buying me a Ko-fi. A special thank you to you, but thank you to everyone for being here with me, because, you know, thank you. Talking about these things is important. So leave me comments if you're on replay crew, of course, or if you're lurkers. Leave me comments also about what do you think about Rose West. Does any of you have any sympathy for Rose West, or do you think she deserves everything she's got? And of course, the other thing we talked about was the Anita Rose trial. You know, the lady that we covered her case. This is an ongoing trial. This lady took her dog Bruce for a walk and was attacked by this man, who it turns out was on the run from the police. So leave your comments about that as well, and I'll be following that trial as it goes on. So I'll see you really soon in the next video. And as always, may your God go with you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye.